What's going on, everybody? Happy Wednesday afternoon with my man Rio, like usual, talking some hoops. 7 games on tap on DraftKings, 9 games on FanDuel. I like what DraftKings did. All of these games lock within. Here, I'm going to pull up SaberSim right away. We'll say hi to people. I'll get to Rio in a sec. But I always like to check, though, right away when opening SaberSim. How does the start times look? Well, Slate starts at 7:30 Eastern. This is Mountain Time. 3 games then, 4 games at 8 p.m. Eastern. After that, we are good to go on the main slate. 30 minutes, everything locks between or within each other. I guess late swap-wise, it takes a little edge away. People that don't want to sit in front of their computer for 3 hours, they don't have to today. But yeah, I like living life, getting outside a little bit, not just focus on DFS. This slate allows you definitely to do so. Even on FanDuel, the other games are at 10 Eastern, so you do get a nice 2-hour window with the remaining 2 games then. Rio, thoughts on this nice 7-gamer? How you doing today?
Yeah, I like these smaller lock windows. I do agree. I wish there was maybe a hour-long period between the games instead of 30 minutes because it does kind of take away that late swap edge, which is a huge part of my process, and I think just a huge part of having SaberSim. But yeah, feeling a little bit under the weather. I was up till like 1 a.m. last night playing PGA with Nades. I don't know if he's in here, but we were playing online for a while, having a couple drinks. So it was a fun time. But yeah, we had some stuff going on. So I'm a little behind on research, but luckily we got that extra 30 minutes so I can get kind of caught up to speed. But yeah, the slate plan not up yet. Usually get it up before we start the show, but I'll definitely have that up a couple minutes afterwards.
Nice. How's the PGA game? Are you better than Nades?
I mean, I beat him twice last night, so
okay.
Rio
definitely good at the UFC.
Oh, you already know. I got the gamer in my blood.
Yeah, Rio definitely good at UFC. Why? I don't know why Cooper Kupp's my favorite football player. I mean, not used to be my favorite, but used to be my favorite DFS roster. The dude was good for 25 plus every single game, but toward the end of last year, when Puka got in town, it was no longer Cooper Kupp season. So I don't know about that. I did see the Packers are interested. We'll see.
I'll take him to the Patriots.
Huh?
I'll take him to the Patriots. I would love that.
I mean, what percent of Cooper Kupp is it? Of the old Cooper Kupp?
Even 10% is better than what we have.
No. 10% Cooper Kupp is full dust.
Have you seen the receivers the Patriots are trotting out there?
Yeah. Trust me. I played Booty, who gets me 0 every single time.
Yeah, because he's Booty.
Yeah, I know. Pop Douglas, though, if he ran every single snap instead of 42% of snaps, if he was in the 99 like Booty, I would play Pop Douglas every single week.
I love Pop Douglas.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we have a lot of months to go until we're talking football again. But we got Richard in here, Ross K, Jordan, William, Gangrene, Takedown, Parabot, Al, Jason, Sean, Metuis, Lyle, Jake, what's going on? Quentin, Richie Small, Justin, NY, YSN, Big Ed, Ricky in here again, Charlie, what's going on? Daniel's in here, Sean as well. Appreciate every single one hanging out. Again, all we ask, like button, subscribe button. Helps us out a ton. About 1 month left in the NBA season for regular season. Then we got playoffs. MLB will be here in a couple weeks. Cannot wait for that. Of course, PGA, big boy. The players locks tomorrow. Definitely want to check out DGen's stream tonight. Check out Hoop and Tambo yesterday. Projections, ownership already up. All the content. Best PGA team by a mile. Prize pools are massive like usual. Definitely check out all the content, showdown content we have for every round 2, 3, 4 as well. MMA this week. NHL always going on right now. NASCAR as well. No better time, head over. Again, we are sharing SaberSim, our partner Optimize over here, the best in the business. You can see the multiple different packages we have to offer if you want. If you just want content, $79. You want to be able to use SaberSim, get 150 lineups, $20 more on top of that. If you want the starter pack, which is the best value, you get 350 additional teams from the core. Also get SaberSim's projection, ownership, and contest flashback to check out different contests in different sports, what certain people are doing, help with your process. If you're playing a couple $100 a week, if you have some good volume in there, I would recommend checking out Contest Sims. Obviously, it is a little expensive, $297 a month. That usually is $321. However, if you're playing hundreds of dollars a week, that would be over $1,000 a month. Very, very strong sims, by far the best in the industry that SaberSim has. Also allows you to build 4,500 additional lineups to the starter pack as well. And you can see the detailed stat projections. And we will be having, for Ultimate members, coming up, I believe starting in April. I don't want to tilt our hand too much, but we will be having some SaberSim roundtable stuff for Ultimate users that one of us will be on the show, who Rio, Tambo, myself, will be talking SaberSim. You can ask questions. We're not giving you exactly what we do, our process. Everyone has to come up with their own, the secret sauce. But if you have questions on how to do something, we will be able to be there and answer that going around. So excited for that as well. No better time. Head over to ShipNation.com. We have everything you need: projections, ownership, content, and the best optimizer. Some of you might be signed up for other sites. You're the consumer. Do whatever you want. We think you have everything you need just here. And obviously that would save you a lot of cheese if you are one that does have multiple other sites. Can add up, no doubt about that. I, myself, have had almost every site back in the day. Have definitely cut mine down as prices have gone up. Spend less on content, more on contests. That's what you need to do. Put money into contests to then try and turn that over to win some cheese. So as you can see here, I mean, night and day, by far the cheapest and most valuable over here at Chippin' Nation. All sports are included. Let's see if anyone else has popped in since I said hi. Hey, what's going on, Chris Coach? Absolutely. Looking smooth in that picture. What's going on? Chris Cash, not Coach. Chris Cash. What am I talking about? Michael Ortiz, what is up with you? That is every single new person. I said hi to everybody. People are already hitting that like button. Rio, any broad slate overview? I mean, a laundry list of Q tags. That's mine. All the games locking within 30 minutes, though. We should have almost all that news. Maybe some stuff does happen at 4:30, 4:35, and those 8 p.m. Eastern games we don't necessarily get. I'm talking, or how I'm approaching this slate, we're going to get pretty much all the news before. From there, projections updated, obviously SaberSim, Sims, everything from there. But on this show, we'll do our best to talk about it. Any broad slate overview before we go game by game?
Yeah, I mean, there's some pretty big tanking implications in one of these games. The Philly and Toronto game definitely got a lot of importance there. Looks like Dallas will be getting some guys back tonight to make them a little bit healthier and kind of take away those guys that we've been playing for the last week or so. But a huge game, OKC versus Boston. I mean, that's going to be a fun one to watch for sure. And we could see some elevated minutes there. It is a national televised game. But we're kind of paying an inflated price on a lot of these studs. I mean, you look at 11.4K for Shea, almost 11K for Tatum. Harden and Trey are 5 figures now. I mean, KD and Booker got a pretty big price increase. I saw some conversation last night about full fading the 9K plus range. I don't know if I would go that far, but I mean, the studs just don't look great tonight, in my opinion, is what I'm kind of seeing. I think it could be more of a building within the mid tier tonight to get, because like some of these guys have equally as high upside than some of these like 9K plus guys. So that's kind of what I'm seeing from a broad slate overview perspective.
Great breakdown. I like it. I do think that kind of will be the common build. I don't think many will go above 10K. A lot of mid-tier options. There's definitely some solid value with that we already have right now. And again, with so many Q tags, only more value can open up. So, all right, let's go game by game. You already hinted at the first game of the slate. On SaberSim, we're going from left to right. Being the tank game, we have the Philadelphia 76ers 5-point underdogs to the Toronto Raptors. 221 total in this one. Talking injuries, there's a lot of them. No PG, no Tyrese Maxey. Of course, still no Embiid on the Philly side. Drummond, Oubre, and Yabusele are all questionable. Going over to the Toronto side, Scotty Barnes is questionable. Abaji is doubtful. And then we have Quickly, RJ Barrett, Grady Dick, Brandon Ingram all out. I mean, man, who is playing in this game? If we do look, though, obviously the tank. This is the tank game, like you said. Just because it's not the highest total, just because these teams aren't very good, doesn't mean we don't have interest in DFS. These guys, teams still got to roll up players. Obviously, it's not the studs on the Philly side, but Quentin Grimes, you've been all over him a lot recently. Justin Edwards is playing a good amount of minutes. Lonnie Walker, it is now March DFS. He becomes in play. You're looking at the other side for Toronto, Jamal Shed, AJ Lawson, a low usage guy, but has the highest point per dollar tag on the slate. Scotty Barnes, a big Q tag. Start with there. Do you have any lean on Scotty, and then take us in this game?
I mean, it makes sense for him to get the night off. I don't. There was some talk about them thinking that that Toronto's front office thinking that he could make third team All NBA, so he kind of wanted to play in these games, but I don't really think that there's any chance of that happening, and this game would definitely be a big game for them to lose. So I kind of think he's out, but I mean, if he's in, it doesn't really change too much. If he is getting that much ownership, anywhere in the mid-teens, I think would be probably too much for Scottie Barnes, just because he's almost 9K now. He was much better when he was 7.7K, 7.9K, whatever, in much better matchups. But he's just not going to play 32 plus minutes. He's probably going to be topped out at 30, I would say, just because they want to get a longer look at some of these guys on the back end of the rotation. So I don't even think that he's really much in consideration, but it does take away some of the value a little bit, mainly in the guys like Jamison Battle, who is questionable as well. But yeah, the Philly stuff is all these guys are projected in right now, but I think they're going to miss. The Sixers, so it's OKC has their top. If they get a top 6 pick, OKC has that pick. Or the Sixers need to get a top 6 pick to keep their first round pick this upcoming draft, and that's a good draft too. So they're they for sure want to keep that. So I just don't think there's any reason why Drummond, Oubre, Yabu should even be playing tonight. And they've also talked about wanting to dial the minutes back on these guys. I mean, they said that, but then Quentin Grimes played 40 minutes the other night. So I'm going to be approaching it as if all these guys are out on the Philly side, and that would get me onto Jared Butler, Lonnie Walker. I probably wouldn't want Justin Edwards just because he doesn't do enough from a usage standpoint. Jeff Dowtin, I would have interest in him as well. And then Adem Bona and Alex Ruiz are two guys that I would definitely want a lot of. I think Adem Bona is very, very good tonight. If Drummond were to miss, he's been playing really well. Getting talked up a bunch by Nick Nurse. He had 18 points or 12 points last game, only 2 rebounds. He's kind of more of a rebounding traditional big man. So I think that this would be a really good spot for him, kind of wanting to attack Toronto with big men all season long, especially when Jakob Poeltl's out there, just because he's an awful defender. So yeah, Adem Bona would probably be my top option on Philly, but I do like the Butler, Lonnie, and Jeff Dowtin guys as well. Definitely not paying 7.6K for Quentin Grimes. On the Toronto side, I really like Shed, assuming that he's starting. He should start. Last time he got to start, put up 32 DK points, played 29 minutes that game. AJ Lawson coming off of, the best game of his life, probably. That might be the most points he ever scores in his career. Just was extremely efficient, 7 for 14 from deep. Got a lot of catch and shoot stuff in that game. I'm fine going back to him. It's kind of talking down him a little bit just because he was such a low usage guy in the sample we had seen from him in Toronto. But, he's going to play a ton of minutes. He's been trending up from a minute standpoint. Last 4 games, played 26, 27, 32, and 33. So they're going to want to get a longer look at him. I think he's probably playing 30-plus tonight. And then keep an eye on, Jared Rhoden if he's starting. That's probably it. I think it's just Shed, Lawson, and Rhoden are the guys that I have much interest in on the Toronto side.
It's crazy just looking at this. Outside of Jakob Poeltl, how much do you even like Jakob Poeltl at all today?
Matchup-wise, it is really good for him, but he's not playing more than 24 right now. I just don't think that he's been really consistent, but I don't know if 35 from him at 6K is going to be enough.
Yeah, I'm Xing him. So why I brought that up, in this game on the Toronto side, nobody that we have clicked, again, took out Scottie, Jakob Poeltl, you didn't like him, is above 4,500. You go to the Philly side, and I just zeroed out the Drummond, Oubre, Yabusele projection-wise, so I do agree with you, think they miss, and you didn't like Quentin Grimes. Nobody above, is it 44? Yeah. No one above 4,500 on the Philly side. So I'll bring that to you, assuming Scottie misses, Yabusele, Drummond, Oubre. How many's too many? You don't love the studs, so it's not like we got to jam all these guys to play Jokic, Giannis, etc. But you're almost going to be forced to play studs on the slate because of guys like this in this game. So is there any max you would put on either side? Is there a max in the game you'd want?
I don't think so, but probably setting some rules. I don't know if I'd want more than 2 of the Butler, Lonnie, Dowtin. You could probably even be max 1 Butler and Dowtin because I think that they kind of eat into each other a good bit. And then probably would probably consider being max 1 Bona and Alex Ruiz, but we got to see. They could just run Alex Ruiz as the 4, but you are giving up 2 spots on the same position, so I probably would want to be max 1 of those 2 guys. as far as Toronto, like it's just probably max one of the centers. Like I don't want more than one of Pirtle, Orlando Robinson, or Colin Castleton because they all have the same positional eligibility. And then I would probably want to be max 2 of the Shed, Lawson, Roden guys because I just don't know if all 3 of them can get there in a big enough way for it to matter on this type of slate. So that's kind of what I'm thinking.
That makes sense. So would you be fine with like 3 players in this game though? 4 players. Would you be fine with Lawson, Shed,
Bona, and Lonnie?
Lonnie.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
I like it. I probably wouldn't get to 5 just the salary alone. I don't even know if you could fill out your whole salary if you do 5. So 4 max is how I see it. Justin Edwards should be projected. He is expected to play. There's no Q tag or anything on him. All right, let's keep it rolling. Next game on the slate, Atlanta Hawks taking on the Charlotte Hornets. Hawks 8.5-point favorites, 241.5 total in this one, which is the second biggest on the slate. We'll get to your Utah Jazz later. Don't know how to play defense. The total's always big. Injuries in this one. Charlotte side, Nurkic is questionable. That is it for them. On the Atlanta side, no Clint Capella, and that is the only noticeable injury there. So I sort by ownership in this game. Couple guys getting some ownership. I sort by value. Couple guys listed above the 5X mark. You're talking about studs. Trae Young, LaMelo, 2 studs you can play in this one. I really have not played any LaMelo in the past month, it feels like. Trae at 10K in this game environment when you don't love many other studs. Charlotte doesn't play defense. I do have some interest right there. Daniels is showing low ownership. I think he's a little interesting. And then I guess how do these value plays compare to that last game? That definitely doesn't feel as strong.
Yeah, for sure. Sorry, I was kind of messing with my camera. It keeps going in and out. I think this is a game where I would kind of be focusing on the guys up top more so because, these guys are in a really good matchup, especially like Miles Bridges and the bigs on each side. Defensively, the Hornets have been okay. They're like bottom 10 right now, but the Hawks are really struggling right now. Atlanta's bottom 4 in defensive rating, Charlotte bottom 10. Hornets are giving up a ton of 3-pointers, second most in the last 10 to 11 games. And the Hawks are really not too far behind them, allowing just under 15 per game. But the place that Atlanta really struggles has kind of been the theme all season long has been their transition defense and pick and roll defense, where they rank 8th and 5th. So hitting on the Charlotte stuff, I don't know, man. LaMelo Ball at 9.6K getting a good amount of ownership, that doesn't feel very good to me. He's just been struggling a lot. He takes a ton of shots, but he's been extremely inefficient. And you could argue the matchup is either way. You could argue it's good, you could argue it's bad. I would kind of lean it being a better matchup for him just because he's such a pick and roll heavy guard, and the Hawks have struggled there all season long. I talk about Dyson Daniels being a good defender, but I feel like a lot of that is I don't know how much of that is actually defensive impact or if it's just him getting a ton of steals. I do think that he's a good defender, but the numbers are just ridiculous. The gap between him and second place in steals is as big as the gap between second place and 50th place or something like that. It's just a crazy, wow. He just has an insane defensive instinct. Mind in terms of getting, instinct. Yeah, exactly. But I just don't know. That hasn't really led to them being a good defense because pick and roll heavy guards have been cooking the Hawks all season long. I remember the Cade Cunningham discussion a few weeks ago where somebody was saying that Cade was going to get shut down by Dyson and Cade put up a 40-point game or something. But with that being said, LaMelo is just in terrible form right now. It is a really good game environment. It's going to be fast-paced. Atlanta does bring the pace, and it's a good matchup, so I think he can get it done. But
what about the minutes? That's my main thing. He played 36 last game, great. 22 the game before. I think they got blown out against the Cavs, but you still don't like seeing 22. Before that, though, it's 34, 32, 28, 36. You tell me he plays 36, I'm in. You tell me he's playing 32, 33, I'm not as in. Those extra minutes, you need that on a slate like this when you're competing against so many very similar plays in the upper tier.
Yeah, and that's the thing. You can't really have a ton of confidence in him getting those minutes because it is a near double-digit spread. They'll pull the plug pretty quickly on him, especially when the game's getting out of hand. Kind of, their franchise guy. There's some talk about him possibly getting traded in the offseason, but still, you kind of want to protect him. So I do think that in a close game environment, a good chance that he pays off his tag in a okay way. You might need him, but more likely than not, would probably be taking an underweight stance on LaMelo. That's just my personal preference, but I laid it all out. Like, you definitely could make the case that it's a good matchup for him. I would much rather just get down to Miles Bridges for $1K cheaper, and arguably a much better matchup because he will be avoiding Dyson Daniels. But just the rim defense for Atlanta has been so bad lately, especially in the second unit now, because they're not going to have Clint Capella out there. But the transition defense has been really bad for him as well. And Miles Bridges is on a tear lately. Has topped 54 DK points in 4 of his last 5 games, and even put up 64.5 against a tougher Cleveland defense. I kind of think that Bridges is in a very, very good spot here. So I like him the most. And then Mark Williams, I'm probably going to try to get to a little bit of him just because he's been playing a lot better lately. I saw some stuff, like some interviews about Miles Bridges talking him up. I mean, he's got all the talent in the world to be a top 10, maybe a top 8 center in the league. Just a durability issue. But I mean, he showed out last game against Miami, which I would say is a tougher game, tougher matchup for him. Put up 24 and 10, 49 DK points. I still think that there's a point in the season where we will see him get back to that elite fantasy play that we were jamming him in when he was like all the way from like 5K to 8K. The issue is that they're probably not going to be pushing him from a minutes perspective. Like, he won't get above 30 minutes much the rest of the season, but he can definitely still put up a good game in those limited minutes. And I think tonight would be a good night to kind of buy into that. For the Atlanta side, I don't love the matchup for Trey as much. I think that the Hornets have done a decent job against guards like him. They have just a solid scheme against pick and roll heavy guards. Coming off the thigh injury as well, maybe he's a little bit limited. It's kind of the same thing, like Trey to Dyson, LaMelo to Bridges. Like, I'd much rather just get down to Dyson Daniels at 7.3K if I'm looking to get to one of the higher end plays on the Atlanta side. Just because from a point per dollar perspective, he's been a lot better. Been in that like 30 to 40 DK range over the last month or so. And Charlotte is one of the most turnover prone teams in the league. They're bottom 3, or I guess they are committing the 3rd most turnovers in the league post All-Star break. So it's could be one of those games where we get like 5 or 6 steals from Dyson Daniels. And then Okongwu, I think, is really good tonight at 7.1K. I think that's a fine price tag for him. He's been really good lately. Hornets have been very bad against centers over the last month or so, ranked dead last in DVP. And he's averaging 37.1 DK points per game this season over the last 10 to 15 games or so. And now with Capella out, he's almost a lock to see 32 plus minutes, I would say. So that's kind of where you want to play Okongwu. It's a really good matchup for him. Yes, I think Dyson and Okongwu are the guys that I like on Atlanta, and then Bridges and Mark Williams.
What happened in Okongwu's last game? I saw he had 20, or did anything happen? He had 21 DK points in like either the first, I don't know, it was 1.5 minutes or 1.5 quarters through, like before half, and he finished with 20. I just know it costed me cheese, and I wasn't watching it. So did anything in particular happen, or he just literally stopped doing anything?
It was literally just the Dyson Daniels and Terrence Mann show. Like, they were doing everything. He was missing a lot of easy shots from my memory, and Terrence Mann was doing he was doing everything in that game. It was actually pretty wild to see.
I've always liked Terrence Mann, Florida State boy, hoop. I always wanted him to play. Anytime there's a Clippers showdown game or like playoffs when you knew he was getting run, I think Terrence Mann's an underrated NBA player, but that's beside the point. I'd rather hit. I wish Okongwu did something and it wasn't the Terrence Mann show, but that's all I got in that one. I do think if you do go like a Miles Bridges, or if you do play LaMelo, I think playing a Dyson, playing an Okongwu, playing a Trey, something like that makes a lot of sense because, like you said, if the game's close, that's when he gets his full run. If he's getting his full run, I'm in on LaMelo at this price for sure. But if he's not, that's when it goes really south. So correlating the other side with the stud and LaMelo, I think that makes a lot of sense on a slate like this, especially when we're not starved for value. All right, let's keep it rolling. Best game of the night by far. I mean, 2 of the best teams in the NBA, Rio, ? Celtics, -2.5 point favorites over the OKC Thunder. Injuries in this one on the Thunder side, big loss. No Jalen Williams, definitely big there. Caruso questionable with an illness. On the Boston side, KP and Jason Tatum are questionable. I believe I saw Porzingis. Did he go through shoot-around? It's illness, but he went through it?
I think so. I can double-check that while you're giving the breakdown.
I believe I saw that. Tatum questionable, it says with a knee. I'm assuming Jason Tatum plays today. It's a huge game. He's almost always listed questionable as of late, it feels like. In terms of looking at like ownership, again, always first thing I do, I sort. No ownership in this game. I sort by value. Only one guy above 5X. That's Drew Holiday. I rarely ever play Drew Holiday unless it's in the playoffs, and he's like the 9th option on this team now. It's a full X for me. I mean, they're all efficiently priced. Like you said, 11.4 for SGA, 8K for Chet, Tatum all the way above 10K, Jaylen Brown's 8.8. Like Jaylen Brown was 7.9 not too long ago. Tatum was 9.7. SGA was 10.1. Like all these prices are just insane. And in games like this, like the opposite of tank, like the games that all eyes are on, I look at it as the whistles go down a little bit, the defense steps up a little bit. We're playing some playoff basketball here, whereas there ain't no playoff basketball being played in Toronto and Philly. I don't know if you look at any of that stuff or think of any of that stuff. Like this game's going to be officiated differently. So I'll throw it to you on that note. Do you think of any of that stuff? I really do when I'm talking SGA, obviously, for obvious reasons. But even if the whistle wasn't like that, efficiently priced, both teams pretty healthy outside of Jalen Williams. I don't want this game. What about you?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of torn. But before I dive into the DFS side of it, like I know it's become like really easy to pick on Tatum lately, just because he's kind of like, I don't know, he's a little cringy at times. But like, why it was just annoying for me to see all these like Lakers fans saying like, oh, it was a game 7 for Boston. Tatum played 45 minutes. Like, when did it become uncool to care about rivalries or uncool to care about nationally televised games? Like that's kind of bringing the excitement back to NBA. Everybody's talking shit about how like bad the NBA has been lately. So why are we talking down on Tatum for caring about a game like that?
I don't know, man. People always find something to get mad at. I didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like Lakers fans are the absolute worst. Sorry if anybody in here is a Lakers fan, but I mean, Luka played 42 minutes against the Nets. Like, what was that a game 7 for them? They lost that game too. It's the fucking Nets. So yeah, my little mini rant. I don't know. I don't really like that, but whatever. Yeah, this should be definitely a fun game to watch, but I do agree with you in a lot of ways. Like, it's kind of tough to make a case for these guys from a DFS perspective. I know that the price is way up there on SGA, but I can kind of talk myself into him a little bit. I've never really minded the matchup against Drew and Derek White. Like, as you guys know, I dive into like all the pick and roll stuff. And I mean, Shea is one of the best pick and roll scorers in the league. So there's like, if anything, the matchup is good for him. But we do have a 800 plus minute sample this season of Shea on the court with J-Dub off. And he has a 4% usage rate increase, which is crazy to consider. He already has like a 33% usage rate while he's on the court with him. But he has a huge spike in his point per minute production, 1.8 fantasy points per minute, which is kind of like, I don't know, like I think that's definitely warranted for an 11K player. And you're probably getting 36 to 38, like for sure 36 if the game's close. Maybe he sees he gets into the game earlier in the fourth quarter rotation if the game's close, and we get like 38 from him. If he does, like I kind of think he's still like a pretty solid option. I'm okay paying the 11.4K price tag because he's paid it off multiple times. He has a couple 70-point games in there, multiple 60-pointers. Like, yeah, I'm okay with Shea tonight at 11.4K. I don't mind the matchup. Outside of that, got to kind of see what they do with the starters. You are comparing these value guys like the Case and Wallace to the Philly Toronto guys, which I think are a lot better. But I'd be okay like sprinkling in a little bit of Aaron Wiggins just because he has shown a ton of upside. And if he gets you like 40, which he has shown to do, then I think that'd be pretty good at his price tag. So I'm okay with Wiggins. I'd be okay with Case and Wallace. I don't love it just because like I don't really know if I don't know. Maybe I take that back. He's been pretty good, and he will have a lot of secondary ball handling with J-Dub out in that second unit. So maybe he's a little bit better than I'm kind of saying right now. But
I will say, to make it a little worse, like Jamal Shed projects at the same price, like 9 points better, 9.5 points. It's just such a tough slate to do it. I mean, you could use it to get different in lineups, but by no means would I take out Shed and put in Case and Wallace to get different. It's not MMA. It's not Showdown. Like, that's just not how you play it.
You're giving up way too much projection.
Yeah. I mean, I'll probably have 0 of these guys. Like, my interest is only the spends because comparing them to the infinite value we have, and we only could get more if injuries happen. But that's why I like you breaking down real life basketball, like because Aaron Wiggins, I would have never ever thought about him. Like anyone that is a valuable 4, I almost never play. But he'll be 0.08% owned. If he gets you 40, I want 100% Aaron Wiggins. So that's why I love using your knowledge and your thoughts with my own thoughts with Saber Sim and doing it that way. But just wanted to bring up that Shed Walls comparison, pretty much positions, price, everything.
Yeah,
is the same.
100%. And then the Boston side, I don't know. So Kristaps, he was present at shoot-around, did not participate. So the wording definitely
always
matters
present.
there.
I keep messing it up.
But yeah, I mean, he's been dealing with this thing for a couple weeks now, and they said, like, he tweeted out or posted on Instagram, basically said it was like he has a viral illness and he can't, like, the doctors don't even know what it is really. I don't know, just like kind of a side note, I've been hearing a lot of shit like that going around the East Coast, people just being sick for a couple weeks and doctors not really knowing what's going on. So maybe that's kind of hit him, but yeah, I don't know. You kind of, I would imagine if he's present at shoot around, he probably plays. I doubt he's playing much just because we've seen some guys return from these lengthy illness tags, like Najee Marshall's the first guy I think of, and play like 15 to 20 minutes. So it kind of just muddy up the rotation a lot. I think the only guys that I really am considering are Drew Holiday and Jason Tatum, but it's the same thing with Drew. Like, you're comparing him to Shed and some of those other guys in the other game. Like, are you really getting paid off? Probably not. Like, I don't know if even like his best ceiling game, 75th to 80th percentile outcome, is going to be enough when you compare it to the Shed and Lawson guys in the other game. So I probably won't have much Drew Holiday. Like, you're very rarely losing money by fading Drew.
I'm looking at his game log because I was like, has dude ever scored more than like 40, 45 this year? Here and there, but not. And those games, I bet you when he did, like, someone was probably hurt. I mean, his usage is just so low on this team.
Yeah, it's a tough scene. Like, you just can't really play him. But same reason that I like Shea. Like, I don't mind Tatum just because if he's going to play 40 minutes, then that's fine. I do think that the matchup got a lot better for him with Jalen Williams out because he's probably going to be guarded by whoever's starting between Wiggins or Wallace. If it's Wallace, then I would imagine they're probably going to try to throw Chet on him, which I think he has a very big advantage there. Just lateral quickness wise, I think he could definitely take it to Chet. So yeah, I think Tatum is in a pretty good spot here. And the last game that he played, a nationally televised game, 45 minutes against the Lakers, 76 DraftKings points. So that's the upside is definitely there. I think that the upside is probably a little bit more enticing for Tatum than Shea because he does a little bit more. But yeah, I don't really have too much of an issue with either of these guys.
For me, it's SGA, it's Tatum, or it's nothing in this game. Again, so much other better value, in my opinion. If I want to overspend for SGA or Tatum, overspend in quotes, it's easier on a slate like this with a lot of value. National televised game, you add a couple more minutes to these guys. No Jalen Williams on OKC. You could see an SGA 70 piece, Tatum 70 piece. That's what I want. If the other value beats me, it beats me in this one. All right, let's keep it moving. Next game on the slate. Appreciate everyone hanging out. Almost 300. All we ask again, like button, subscribe button. Helps us out a ton, bringing shows on this channel every single day. Next thing you know, we'll be talking some MLB here in a couple weeks. Very, very excited for MLB season. Very excited to use SaberSim and show it off during MLB season. Right here, the stack exposure, irrelevant in an NBA, in my opinion. Definitely not in baseball, and not in NHL, and not in NFL. So when we get to stacking sports, if you're a member over here, you can always just give it a try already. Add Slate right here, and then you can go to hockey. Make it really easy. Where is it? NHL. And then you can give it a try right here. Click the DK Slate, mess with it there. Hit up Nades if you have any questions about that. But again, can't wait for the stacking. 5-2-1s, 4-3-1s makes it very easy if you do want to force stacking, which I recommend in baseball.
Daytime A's.
Daytime A's. There you go. All right. Not baseball season yet. It'll be long enough. We'll be talking about that forever. So let's get back to some hoops. Rockets, 4.5-point favorites over the Phoenix Suns, 226.5 total. Injuries in this one on the Phoenix side, Nick Richards and Grayson Allen doubtful. Monty Morris too. Didn't even know he was still on the squad. For the Houston side, actually I do. He cost me a heck load of money on Christmas Day. Yeah, it's beside the point. Anyway, Houston side, Amin Thompson is out with an ankle injury. That is the only injury to note there. I don't know. Again, sorting by ownership, not great. Sorting by value, couple guys, but it's not even like the 5X mark today on a slate is not the same as it is like on some slates. There's a plethora of guys over 5X because there's a lot of injuries and value so good. What I look at and stands out, Sengun, it's 9.7K. I never play Fred VanVleet, but with Fred VanVleet back in the mix, takes a little interest away from Jalen Green. This tag is absolutely insane on Sengun. Again, some of these upper tier guys are. I think my favorite is Tari Eason. The dude just has a bunch of upside. The price is fair. Mid-tier builds, though, he can get you 40, 45. Like, that's what I want on a slate like this. I'll let you take it away from there, but Tari's my favorite in this one.
No, yeah, you kind of I think you pretty much said everything I was going to say. We've been kind of attacking the Suns over the last month or two. You definitely want to play guards against them. I do think that adding Mason Plumlee is a plus for their defense. Like, I don't think Richards is much better defensively than Plumlee is. He's just a little bit more versatile athletically. So I don't really want to overstate. Like, I think people might be overstating how good of a matchup it is for Sengun. Like, I'm not paying almost 10K for Sengun, especially when you get Fred VanVleet back to take away a little bit of usage. And then you have like Jabari Smith, Tari Eason. You have a lot of these guys, like, they're pretty healthy outside of Amen Thompson. So yeah, I'm not paying nearly 10K for Sengun tonight. But yeah, I agree with you. I think the only guy that I really have much interest in is Tari Eason, but I would not be surprised tonight if they do start Jabari Smith, just because matchup wise he matches up much better with Kevin Durant than Tari Eason does.
If that's the case, does that pretty big bump down? Is there like a 4 or 5 minutes that you lose, or at least you project in losing when he's coming off the bench and starting?
Yeah, I think so.
That's huge then.
Yeah, it would, like, that would be a spot where I'd be, especially if like the ownership doesn't come down much on Eason. I would probably be looking to get a little bit underweight there, just because I do think that the minutes could really come down a big way. I just don't know who he would, like, if Jabari Smith is starting, who is Eason taking minutes away from? It'd have to be from like Fred VanVleet. But I just don't know. Like, I don't really have the numbers in front of me how much they're overlapping, like the Dylan Brooks, Tari Eason, Jabari Smith lineup. But yeah, just keep an eye on that. 'Cause I think if Tari's starting, then they're going to play him 32 plus minutes probably. Like, he's been around like 32 minutes as a starter this season, and like you said, he can just do a lot of everything. You see some of these games where he hits the 40 mark. It's due to a lot of steals. And the Suns are definitely a turnover-prone team. They're one of the worst transition defense in the league, so it's a good spot matchup-wise for Tari Eason. But I do think that if Jabari Smith is starting, I'd have some interest in him just because they might just match up his minutes with Kevin Durant. Like, he's easily the best matchup they have for KD, and KD's been playing a ton of minutes lately. Both him and Booker are just playing a ton, so they might want to match up those minutes there. So yeah, I don't love the spot for anybody in particular on Houston outside of Tari Eason if he's starting. I would have liked it a lot for Jalen Green if Fred VanVleet were to be out, but he's in, so it's kind of, I don't know, it's tough for me to pay 7.2K for Jalen Green when the team is near fully healthy. And then anytime Dylan Brooks is getting some ownership, I think you kind of just go away from it just because he can really hurt you in a very bad way if he does not hit. On the Sun side, yeah, big price increase for KD, almost 10K now. I think it's definitely warranted because he's been playing really well, but you're not getting a ton of upside from him. Like 55 to 60 you'd be happy with. I just don't know how often he's doing that, especially in this matchup. Like, I think it's really tough for both him and Booker. Booker going to be guarded by Dylan Brooks, KD with Jabari Smith or Tari Eason. I think both those guys are pretty solid defenders. So yeah, I don't love either of those guys. I probably just want to get down to Mason Plumlee, assuming that he's starting, which I think he should be starting. He's been pretty good as a starter this season. We have a pretty large sample. Averages 22 DK points per game, which is, I think, a very fine projection. If you put him there at 3.4K, I'd be pretty happy if I got 22 from him. But I think there's a little bit more upside. He was kind of like sneakily eating into Nick Richards' minutes a lot as of late. Played 27 against Denver. I think that was the overtime game. 26 against Memphis last game, but Richards got injured in that one. But it's still been in like the low 20s when he was kind of playing like mid-teens when they first got Nick Richards. So yeah, I think that he's definitely capable of playing upper 20s minutes tonight, which would be very, very good at his price tag. So yeah, I would like to see him a lot more if Houston had a couple less bodies, because I love attacking Phoenix. But right now it's just the prices and just how healthy they are. It makes it a little bit tougher for me.
I'm with you. Let's say Mason Plumlee comes in. Like, I think we're probably low here. Obviously, center's a decently strong position, but he's 3.4K as starting center. And if you click off, he has the second best value on the slate. 35% Mason Plumlee comes in at. Where do you think you are versus the field?
I hadn't started building yet, but I would imagine that that cheap center price tag is pretty valuable tonight. It just depends, though, because if we do get like the Drummond Yabu stuff out, like I would probably want to play Adembona over Plumlee.
Okay. That's a good comparison. That's what I was looking for.
So it could come down a little bit.
Yep. Good call out right there. A lot of moving pieces. So many Q tags. What you see right now on SaberSim, what you see right now with our ownership and projections will most definitely be changing. It's updated throughout the night, of course, but laundry list of Q tags, even 2-3 of them could absolutely change the slate. So be on the lookout for that. And of course, anything changes, core reports, cash reports, we always update it in yellow. Will there be showdown content tonight? I know 2 late games on an island.
Yeah, there should.
Any good?
I would imagine they're pretty good. It's a big game, Minnesota and Denver. So yeah, I'll definitely do showdown tonight.
Ooh, might be time to bet a little Nuggets -3. All right, keep it moving. 3 games left on the slates. The highest total in this one, also the biggest spread. 11.5-point favorites are the Memphis Grizzlies over Rio's Utah Jazz. 247 total in this one. Injuries, like always, there's definitely injuries. No Keontae George for Utah. Laurie, Clarkson, and Jaden Springer are all questionable. On the Memphis side, no Jaren Jackson, no Santi Aldama, Zach Edey, Brandon Clark, both questionable. I mean, man, how real are these questionable? Edey and Clark, that'd be their front court would be decimated. What do they got? If Edey's out, if Brandon Clark's out, Jay Huff.
It was Jay Huff and Bagley last game.
And because Huff got pulled like 3 minutes in, and Bagley played a good amount of minutes, but. So that's what it'd be. We don't have anything right now, but it'd
Lamar
be
Stevens got some center run as well. It was messy.
Yuck. All right, take it away. Do you have any lean on these two? I mean, I guess what stands out to me, I hope one of these two are in and the other one's out, and we can just play an Edey or play a Clark, right? Or is it still not that? They're only center eligible, so that's tough. But is it still not just that obvious? There'd be concern with the minutes with them both Q right now.
Yeah, I mean they're never really running up Edey's minutes regardless of who's in or out. Like I think that he's going to be capped at like he won't probably top 24 minutes in most games this season. But Clark, I mean, like he's been really good off the bench for them and kind of been playing like more of a starter's role. So it is they are big Q tags. I think that they matter a lot for the guys on the other end too. I mean, you just talk about the game last time where Jay Huff and Bagley started. I think that they gave up like 40-plus rim points last game against the Suns, which is not really a team that is super like drive heavy and rim scoring dependent. So that was definitely not a good look. So yeah, it's the Q tags are really big there. I don't really think that it would matter too much from like a value standpoint. It wasn't good seeing the rotation from Jay Huff. He got there, he played 25 minutes, he took a ton of shots. Like I would say the matchup is good for him. But he's priced up now. Like I'd rather just play Plumlee because I know that I'm going to be getting, like I think the rotations are going to be pretty consistent for Plumlee. Whereas Jay Huff, like it's just like the rotations for Memphis are never so black and white. Like they change it up so much. So I don't really think that it's going to matter too much from a value standpoint. But I do think that the matchup would get a lot better for guys like John Collins and Walker Kessler on the other side. But yeah, speaking on like the Jazz, I mean they're doing a really good job tanking their asses off. So I love to see that because we're hopefully getting in the sweepstakes for Cooper Flag, which would be nice. But yeah, I mean they've been a team we've been attacking.
He might come. You think he goes back to Duke? I just saw like his odds to come back to Duke are better than like 8 NBA teams I saw.
I mean, if it's Washington or Charlotte gets the first overall pick, I would go back.
Yeah, Charlotte. I saw. That's what he said. Like it was better odds to go back to Duke than play for Charlotte. And there was like 8 other teams, but Charlotte was the next team down there. I mean, with the NIL, it just opens up an insane which is crazy. Like it's not anything about the money. It seems like he loves playing at Duke, but you just play until you really think you get to the right situation. What year that is at number 1?
I don't know. I hadn't done a ton of research on like the draft, not this upcoming year, but next year. But apparently it's way better than this one. So like, there's no guarantee that he'd go number 1.
Really?
I think he probably. Oh, well, they have that AJ DiBanza kid.
Okay, I've heard about that.
He's gonna be going to BYU, but he's supposed to be really good. So I doubt it. Like, there's no way that Cooper Flag is not like he's probably going one in each draft.
Dude's hooping against the Olympic team, USA, getting buckets on him. Like, that'd be pretty tough to pet. But yeah, I mean, anyway, let's keep it going.
Yeah, but like you said, I would not be going to Washington or Charlotte if I was him.
Yeah.
But yeah, Utah been a team we've looked to attack mainly with guards, mainly with guys that score out in transition. Their 3-point defense has been terrible. They're dead last, but Memphis kind of equally as bad. They're bottom 2 in catch and shoot defense this season. Also one of the worst transition defenses, mainly just because they play so fast. So I agree. Like, this game there should be a ton of points scored. I don't imagine that Lauri Markkanen or Jordan Clarkson are playing tonight. The draft is too important. Like, they definitely need a tank. They were competitive against Boston last game, maybe a little bit too competitive. So they're probably going to sit out Lauri. He's been like questionable since like almost like a full month and he hasn't played. So yeah, if he's out, then you're probably like maybe considering Bryce Sensabaugh and Johnny Juzang. I would say the match was pretty good for them. But really, it's just Walker Kessler, John Collins, and Sexton for me. I think if Edey and Clark were out, that would make the matchup really good for Walker Kessler. He had the huge game against Toronto the other night. Had to pat myself on the back for that one. It was crazy. He had such a big game and it didn't matter because Jokic put up 100 and Jalen Williams put up like 52. But that was still cool to see him have such a massive game. But I think he could have like somewhat of a repeat performance here. And nobody's going to play him just because he's expensive. But anytime that he's active, he's playing 30-plus minutes. So I'd be okay with the matchup for Kessler regardless if those guys are in or out. But I think if Edey and Clark do get rolled out, it'd be a smash spot for Walker Kessler. And John Collins, it just kind of sucks that he's playing for Utah right now because he's having like the best season of his career, averaging 19 points, 8.2 rebounds, 2.1 assists, 2 stocks per game, 36 DK points per game. And it's a decently good matchup for him with Memphis playing more up-tempo. I think that could definitely help him get some points out of transition. But he also took a ton of catch-and-shoot threes last game against Boston. Only made 2, but he shot 11. He shot 30 times last game, put up a double-double, 49 DK points in back-to-back games. So, yeah, I like John Collins a good bit tonight. And same thing with Sexton. With Keontae out, kind of saw him overtake the starting point guard role last game. I don't know if that's going to continue because they do have draft capital invested into Isaiah Collier. But he did lead the team in touch time last game against Boston, had 20 potential assists, and he's only 5.6K, played in full, was it 33 minutes, I believe, for him. And I really like matchup for guards against Memphis. I don't really view like Jalen Wells and Vince Williams as great defenders right now. So I think those 3 are all very much in play, and I think it's a good spot to fire them up just with this being such a strong game environment. For Memphis, Ja and Bane, love these guys tonight. Like, I'm going to want a good amount. Ja in particular is really good here. He's coming off of 3 straight 49 DK point outings. The minutes have been good, playing around 33 to 37 in each of his last 3 games, 34 to 37. And yeah, just everything that he does well, I think could really shine in this matchup. Jazz are dead last in DVP over the last month against point guards, even extrapolating that data over the whole season, they're bottom 2. So it's always been a good matchup for guards. But Ja is also 6. He has 6 most points per game in transition. Jazz are dead last there. So he hadn't topped 30 minutes in each of the meetings versus Utah this season, but that was like way earlier in the year. I think even opening night they played each other. He had 45 DK points in that game, double-double. He's probably going to get a double-double here. Probably puts up like a 25-point double-double. And yeah, I'd be okay getting overweight him, especially if ownership's in like that mid to upper teens range. Same thing for Bane. He had a really bad game last time out, but it's still a good matchup for him. He's just behind Ja in transition scoring this season, averaging 1.42 fantasy points per minute against the Utah Jazz this season, playing a lot more minutes than Ja is normally. So I'd be okay with either one of those two. Not setting a rule against them. I think I'd be okay if I have both of them. We've seen both hit in pretty big ways before. And then Vince Williams Jr., like, he's getting a little bit of love. I don't know, like, he's cheap and he's starting, but you're almost never getting more than like 23 DK points from him, and he's not playing more than 25 minutes. I think if there were a matchup for him to get it done, it would be this one, just with Utah being such a turnover-prone team. They're dead last in turnover percentage this season, so it could lead to a lot of easy buckets for him. But I kind of just find myself wanting to get to one of Ja or Bane and not really have a ton of interest in the value pieces for Memphis.
I agree with you. I think it's mainly the studs you want in this game too. I do like your Kessler shout. Not too many people look like injuries on the Memphis side. What does that do to the other side? Yeah, if they're without the bigs, I mean, I would really, really like Walker Kessler. So that's what I took out of that most. All right, 2 games left on the slate. Next game, definitely a lot of injury news in this one. Miami Heat, 2.5-point favorites over the Los Angeles Clippers, 205.5 total. I mean, we go from 247 to 205.5. Absolutely insane. Injuries, Kawhi, Norm Powell, Ben Simmons, all doubtful for the Clippers, playing on the second night of a back-to-back. Miami side, the GOAT, Alec Burksy, is questionable. Doesn't mean much for this slate for DFS, but that's about it there. So you see no Norm, Simmons, and obviously most important, Kawhi. And shout out, I guess, to you. Kawhi did get the job done yesterday. Price came up a bit. Definitely got there in a decent way. Zubac got there. Harden got there. All the Clippers got there. Awful total, but without some of their big guys like Kawhi, can we get back to James Harden at 10-2? Zubac, 8-4. He's expensive, but at a center position, can he repeat what he did yesterday? I don't love 205.5 total. Miami side, very, very tough for me to get there. I don't like anybody, so I'll let you talk about that. But Clippers a little interesting.
Yeah, I would say just a little bit. This is easily the worst game in the slate. You're talking about the Clippers traveling to Miami. You got the nightlife narrative for James Harden. But I mean, the Clippers guys are just playing so many minutes right now. This game is kind of meaningless for them. It's a East Coast team back to back. I wouldn't even be surprised if they sit more guys throughout the day. I mean, I doubt it because they've already filed their injury report. But I don't know. I just don't really want to pay 10.2K for Harden in this type of matchup, this type of game environment. Even with Norman Kawhi out, I don't see it, and definitely not paying 8.4K for Zubac in this matchup. He's been playing really well, but I mean, these guys are just playing too many minutes for it's just, I don't know, it's that point in the season where these guys could really get injured by just playing too many minutes. I mean, Harden's played 40 regulation last night, and they lost, and 44 against Sacramento in the overtime.
He's like Braun, though. He's smart. His 44 minutes, 18 of those are just chilling, playing help side defense, not really getting over. His offensive game, he uses his minutes, his energy well, but yeah, I mean, it is a lot of minutes.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. I mean, he's been around for a while. I see Bogdanovic getting some ownership. No shot I'm playing him. He's been shooting a lot better. Like we said yesterday, it's not hard to shoot much better when you had been so bad this season. There's just no shot I'm playing him. I would say the matchup would be good for guys like him, Batum, Derek Jones Jr., Chris Dunn, just with the way that Miami plays defense, a lot of zone. Leads to a lot of guys like Bogdan and Batum getting more shot volume up. I don't know. I don't think I'll X him out, but I'd be very happy if I had none, and I'd be okay if I had 10%. Miami full X out. There's just no way. They're getting a lot healthier. I don't see anything in the matchup that would say it's good for anybody. Bam's been playing really well, so I'd be okay getting to some of him, but that's probably it. This is just a really, really gross game environment.
Yes, it is. No doubt about that. All right, last game of the slate. Awesome stuff, Rio. 300 watching again. Just getting in. Really appreciate it. All we ask, hit that like button for us. Helps us a ton. Helps the algorithm. Hit the subscribe button. We just passed 10,000 subscribers. Really appreciate all the support over here. And again, if you do want to join us at the Nation, if you just want our content, we have that access as well. $79 for all of our content. You want Saber Sim like we're showing? We have 3 different options: Core, Starter, and Ultimate. As you can see on the graphic, Core gets you 150 lineups and late swap, which is huge for NBA. $20 more than our content. The Starter, the best value, $30 more than the Core package. Gets you additional 350 more lineups. Projections ownership from Saber Sim, so you can average it if you'd like. And contest flashback. Get to see what pros are doing, like what Rio's doing in this contest, etc. Really, really cool tool that SaberSim has with the contest flashback. Starts with Starter. If you're playing a couple $100 a week, you want to try out the Sims Ultimate Package, $297 for the first 30 days. Then goes up to $321, gets you 5,000 lineups. Same thing as Starter with the projection ownership and flashback from SaberSim. Then also does get you the detailed stat projections, like you see the minutes and everything on the side here. That is an Ultimate feature, and we will be having for Ultimate members, believe starting next month, like a roundtable once a month. If you have questions yourself as Ultimate, how do I do this? how do I do that? We will walk you through it. We will help you out. Obviously, we do have a SaberSim portion in the Discord as well. Not Rio going through exactly how his process. You got to come up with your own. If Rio gave his whole process to everyone uses it, that process now becomes not great because too many are doing it, and you want to transition that way, coming up with your own. We have education videos up here, NBA, where is it? NBA, NFL, PGA, MMA. It's a great place to check it out if you're trying to learn a new sport. And shout out to BJ. Had an awesome message in the Discord earlier about being in a little funk. Hey, that's pros go through funks all the time. That's real life. That's what we go through. Having a community to bounce your ideas off, to just vent if you want to do that, which is kind of what the message was, but in a good way. Going back, reviewing his process. Awesome stuff. I love to see that. Best community out there. If you do join us at the Nation, definitely do get in the Discord. Final game of the slate, Rio. Pretty good one, especially when you compare it to the last one. The slate. We do have 2 more games at night, 10 Eastern. We'll have showdown content as well. As you can see, NBA showdown right here. Last game with this one, though. San Antonio Spurs, 6.5-point favorites over the Dallas Mavericks. 236 total. Injuries on the Dallas side. Brandon Williams, Dante Exum, PJ Washington, all questionable. On the Spurs side, Jeremy Sokan, Devin Vassell, both questionable. Not sure how much that injury news really does. Actually, I'll throw it to you. Right now, sorting by average ownership, Vassell, Brandon Williams, the only guys looking to be getting any ownership. Both of them are questionable. I'll let you take it from there. I mean, like the Najee Marshall at 7.5, Castle 6.3, Fox 8.9. I mean, all the DraftKings just said everyone that what they should be priced. Let's just add 600 to their price and go from there.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, I feel like such a donkey playing Najee Marshall the other night. Like, I don't know. Like, there was just no way that he was keeping up that production, and I fell for it. Like, I was fading him at 6K. I played him at almost 7K, and he put up a nothing burger in 40 minutes. Like, I felt like
screw that dude. You're on my side now. It cost me earlier at 4.5K. Screw that guy at 7K.
I felt like such a donkey. But I was going to say with the BJ thing, like, yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat as him. It's been a rough past couple weeks. I haven't posted my results on, it might have been Friday or Saturday. Like, just barely cashing any teams in the 150 max. But I think it's just a process thing. Like, it's this time of the year is really, really tough. Like, you just had those random Quentin Grimes games where he's supposed to be limited and he goes for 60 DK points. Like, you just can't miss like this late with all the infinite value. Like when Brandon Williams had 46, you could have the perfect exposure, perfect everything. You don't have Brandon Williams, you have no chance of winning. The later the season goes, it feels like the less margin you have to miss in the flagship. That there's like 3 guys that just will be on the winner. Where sometimes you see earlier in the year when it's a lot tougher, ownership more spread out, value's not so clear. Sometimes like the best point per dollar guy, whatever, doesn't end up in the $15 flagship winner with 20,000 people because they're just different. Everything's more spread out. The scores are kind of more similar. You don't just have that 99th ceiling outcome from a 4,000 guy that should be priced like 7,000. I don't know if you agree with any of that or not, but it just feels like there's more must that you need. You don't have these 2 together in the lineup, you have no chance of winning. Just something like that. Yeah, for sure. I mean, like at this point in the season, you have to be near perfect. Like you really can't miss. And the truth, or like it's for sure true what you said about earlier in the season, you're not really needing that, because even when I won my first GPP this season, I had a high owned Trace Jackson Davis that went for like 12 fantasy points, but because I had so many of these other guys that went off, like 3% Halliburton, like stuff like that, whereas it's impossible to win with a 12, but anyone right now, like a Trace Jackson, it's just a different NBA right now. That's what March and April is. Everyone's playing the same game. But I asked Rio 2 days ago, like this time of year, do you dial it back a little bit? Maybe that is something you should do. I kind of am dialing it back a little bit. Just know your strengths too. I always get killed early January, it feels like, or January with NFL playoffs and stuff. Maybe that's a time for me to just dial it back a little bit. Check out your roto tracker if you know in the past. You don't always have to be going all in. BJ talked about that a little bit too. So, yeah, good stuff. Yeah, and just to build off that, one more thing, I guess it's kind of playing devil's advocate a little bit, because a lot of my bigger wins have come at this portion of the season, just because it's nice to get a little bit more, like a lot more data throughout the year. Like I remember last year, like getting a super low on Wemby and Trey Jones combo when nobody had him, and I was seeing something everybody else wasn't seeing. Like both these guys became elite permanent producers with like whatever injury situation it was. So there is like some edge to be had there, but I think right now like it's a lot tougher because it seems like April DFS came a few weeks early.
For sure.
Okay, but yeah, we get back into this game. These teams did just face off earlier this week, and it seems like Dallas is gonna be getting healthier. Like I mentioned, they're not allowed to sign anybody until like almost a full month from now. So they kind of have to rush these guys back. Like I don't think that if they had a healthier roster, Caleb Martin would have been playing right now. And probably the same thing with Dante Exum. I do think Dante Exum is probably he does have a good chance to miss. I don't think it really matters too much. Like he's not such a high usage guy that it makes somebody great. And we did see Brandon Williams missed last game. It sounded like he was actually close to playing, so he might be back. Like he did have the hamstring injury, which is never good to see. But they kind of need him right now, and they want to get a good look at him. I just don't think we're seeing like the 40 minutes that we got from earlier. They're probably going to be maybe in like the upper. I guess I'm going to play 34 in those two games, but probably going to be like the upper 20s, I would imagine, which is still fine for him. Like he's been a really good usage guy and done a lot of everything. I don't think the matchup is bad at all. Actually, it's quite good. The Spurs have been one of the worst defenses in the league since the Wemby injury. Second worst defensive rating team, dead last in rim defense, and the Mavs are really not too far behind them. Bottom 6 defensive rating, 7th worst rim defense. But the Mavs will be getting some key guys back, probably with PJ and Brandon Williams returning to kind of make this a situation where you don't need to play them like we did earlier this year. But if Williams and Exum miss, then Spencer Dinwiddie, I mean, he had a great game. Probably going to be a guy that you're going to want a good amount of because they just would be very, very thin on guys that can handle the ball. It'd be a lot of Najee Marshall and Max Christie again, or Najee and Max Christie doing a lot of the ball handling. But I think Dinwiddie is kind of the only true point guard that they'd have on the roster, so I'd be okay with him. But as of now, it's really just Brandon Williams on Dallas. And for San Antonio, man, I mean, what a letdown De'Aaron Fox has been in San Antonio. I thought that he was just going to take off in a big way with Wemby out. But he is dealing with, I think it's a hand or a finger injury that's kind of affected his shooting. Like you see some very inefficient shooting games from him. I mean, just the permanent production. I mean, it's been terrible. He hasn't topped 34 DraftKings points or 37 DraftKings points in 7 games. I mean, even barely touching 40 in some of those games is not going to be good enough in 9K. I just don't see how you play really any De'Aaron Fox right now. But if Vassell and Sochan were to miss, that would give Keldon Johnson more run, and he'd be probably the only guy that – well, him and Stephon Castle are the two guys that I have interest in. The thing for Castle, he's been such a high usage guy with Wemby off the court, and he's been really good, averaging just under 30 DraftKings points per game without Wemby this season. But you look at his last 7 games, he's topped 40 DraftKings points 3 times. Like he's shown a true ceiling. Like I just don't see any reason to not play him, and he never comes in high owned, is always in that 6K range. So yeah, I definitely like Castle, and I definitely like Keldon Johnson. But those are the only 2 guys I'm really considering tonight.
I like it. Yeah, I mean that Fox game log is really as gross as it gets, and there's a lot of guys in that upper tier that are probably going to put up some solid scores today. I mean, we have plenty of value. The upper tier is shaky, but there's still guys you make cases for. Overspending on SGA, a Tatum. I think the Trey LaMelo situation is a little interesting. Again, so many Q tags, definitely important stuff. All 7 games do lock within 30 minutes of each other, so hopefully we get it all before the start, or all before 7:30 Eastern when the slate does lock. Any final thoughts, Rio? Good stuff like usual.
I was trying to catch up on chat in between games, and I saw somebody say,
flag.
Yeah, saying that he doesn't have a position. That's not a bad thing in the NBA. Like LeBron James,
it's a position equals hooper.
Yeah, like you're not calling LeBron James a small forward or a power forward or a point guard. Like he just does it all. Like it's not bad to have a guy like that on your team. So
I think he'll fit the 3 really nicely.
I mean, he's NBA ready. Like he's 18 years old. He was already cooking those guys in the Olympics. Like he's ready.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Any final thoughts on this slate? You covered it great like always. Again, the slate plan a little later than usual today, but you will have that up. Showdown content later, 10 p.m. Eastern are those games. Core reports, Cash reports, of course, Saberson, like we're showing. Any final thoughts? Golf, huge golf week. Players, big prizes. Definitely check that out. Any final thoughts?
No, I mean, there's some exciting stuff on the horizon, so I can't say too much about that. But yeah, good. Definitely get into the golf streets tonight. DJing is the man. We'll be tuning into a show once NBA is locked for the night. So definitely tune in there. Yeah, the 5th Masters. I'm definitely excited about this one. It's a huge tournament, Millie up top. So be chasing some of that. But yeah, I can hear Maddie in the background, so I'll let you get out of here. But yeah, hopefully everybody has a good night, and we'll see you guys tomorrow.
The pool guy always hates dogs. He texted me, and I forgot to look. Please make sure they're inside. So yeah, that's what she made sure. All right. Appreciate everyone hanging out with us. Hit that like. Hit the subscribe on the way out. Very much appreciated. Good stuff as always, Rio. I will talk to you tomorrow. Same time, like usual. For Rio, I'm Titletown. Good luck tonight, everybody. Peace.